Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan, and it's time for a special episode of Superhero Rewind Unscripted. Tonight, Austin and I are going to do a list of weird and unlikely, unpredictable developments in the history of superhero movies. Austin, welcome. Thanks for being here again, as we so often do, talking about the history of superhero movies once again.
Thanks for allowing my existence.
So this is kind of a follow-up. I'd say even we could call this like an epilogue to the really lengthy, off-the-cuff history of superhero movies that we did a year ago now. And I think a lot of what will come up tonight will be things that we hit on there or maybe just mentioned in passing. Maybe we'll get a little bit deeper into some of them here. But I wanted to put a focus on just how like odd and unpredictable this whole thing has been over the years. There's a lot of choices made with projects and just projects themselves where you go, I could never have imagined that would happen. And then the trajectory that you end up on because of the precedent that is set by certain things. I'm very, especially these days, with things like, and I don't want to get ahead of myself and throw out too many examples too early, but things like we have a whole Venom trilogy without Spider-Man. Like you just, if you told me when I was a kid that was going to happen, I'd be like, in what bizarre alternate universe? Folks, we live in that bizarre alternate universe. And we're going to be bringing up a lot of pieces of evidence that we're in the wrong future. Now, some of these will be positive things, I'm sure, but we're like, it's weird but good. I'm sure I have a few of those on my list. I made this a few weeks ago. I don't even remember everything that's on my list.
Well, you said that about Venom, and then I was like, oh, there's a big one recently that I wouldn't have thought to put on my list because we didn't officially know about it yet.
Oh, cool. Well, you'll have to bring that up. Put it on your list. Just make sure you put it on there in such a way where you understand what you wrote.
No, I'm just going to write just the title. There we go.
Like I said, we were going to do this about a month ago, and we prepared for it, and then for various reasons, we're having to tack this kind of thing on to nights where we're already doing a stream, and we just didn't have a good night to stay up later. And then we got to this tonight, and Austin was looking at his list, and he was like, I've got shorthand stuff here. I have no idea what this means.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like one or two word things. So I'm like, what the hell does that mean? One of them is a full sentence, and it took me like a minute to decipher. Where I was like, "What the hell is this about?"
Hopefully, you can figure it out. So, folks, if you're watching live in the comments, really appreciate you being here. Welcome. Throw out your own examples as we go of just surprising developments. Can be anything. Can be like in movies or about the making of said movies. I have both kinds of things. A lot of mine are making of things. But there are certainly, really weird, odd choices of just plot points and character choices, casting. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. And I'm sure that you guys will name some things that we're already planning on talking about, and you're likely to throw out stuff we didn't even think of. So, help us out if you're so inclined, and as always, Super Chat guarantees that we talk about the thing that you throw in, but you can just put them in regular comments also, and we'll try to get to as many as we can as we go. We're going to talk for at least an hour tonight, maybe not too much longer than that, and then if we need another part for this, we'll do a follow-up a little bit later on. But Austin, I'm going to let you go first, man. Throw out anything you want to. You don't have to go in order. You can jump around if you want to, whatever you want to do.
I'm definitely going to jump around because I feel like mine start more stupid and become better as they go. I'm going to throw out one that people have already mentioned in the chat just because it is on my list, but I'm going to merge it with another thing too. So I put in that you have, I put specifically The Shadow, is the movie influenced by 89 and is made because of 89. But you can add like all the pulp heroes into that we have after 89. But also, after Superman, instead of a ton of comic book movies from there. We got a lot of comic strip movies. Like that's where we get like Popeye and like Orphan Annie and stuff like that. So just weird in that the studio clearly didn't understand what people were coming to this stuff for. And kind of in similar ways with both of them.
And it also seems counterintuitive to what you'd think the Hollywood mentality would be and what it is these days. So the idea
Mm-hmm.
that's such a great point because we talk all the time about the oddity the 90s is, and that and it's kind of weird that we went to a bunch of those also at the start of the Superhero Rewind commentary project. We've knocked out I think everything but Dick Tracy. We've knocked out by now.
Mm-hmm.
That after Batman 89, you don't immediately go to other really well-known popular superheroes. You go to other things that arguably kind of feel like that kind of street level or noirish or hard boiled kind of thing, and they don't have to be already popular or these days very well known, right? And you'd think you'd go to what's huge in the comics right now, which is more of what we do now. And so it's interesting that after Superman, I never thought of that it's the same thing. It's not what other popular superhero characters can we go to? It's, oh, comic strips are big now because Superman is a comic strip.
Yeah, I think that's your kind of old Hollywood guy, right? That's like,
yeah.
we made a picture about the Superman. The kids want to see more of that. Make an Orphan Annie movie.
Well, and even in the 90s, your older studio executives, they're gonna remember serials. They're gonna go back to your Shadows and your Phantoms. I mean, I never really
Yeah.
thought about that, but some of that's like what's in their memory. Because like if you're 60 or 70 in the early 90s, you're gonna remember growing up with that stuff. It's hard to imagine now because there's hardly anybody left with us that remembers those days. But
Yeah, exactly.
uh, but I mean, our elderly population at that point is World War II veterans.
Mhm.
I miss those days. I miss being able to go chat with World War II veterans.
Oh, sure.
I gotta say,
I mean, I remember
I'm not
in
joking.
school.
I hate that. I hate that generation is mostly not with us anymore.
No, I remember, as a kid, they brought in a World War One veteran to our school, and they were like, he is one of like 6 remaining Canadian World War One veterans. And now I'm like, oh, we're getting to that point with 2 now, aren't we? Not that
Robert,
it's that far, but yeah.
no, you're right. Robert says Spawn is the only '90s superhero movie besides Batman based on a comic that was super popular at the time. I would argue that Steel also fits in in that category. Not that Steel himself was that popular, but Steel gets greenlit because of the popularity of Death of Superman. So like that's also in there, and also just because we're trying to do Star Vehicle stuff with Shaq, and that's a black superhero that they could exploit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great one,
What
Austin.
is? Oh, thank you, thank you. I'm glad I could start with probably my best one. It's all downhill from here.
Well, I'm gonna go early also, Austin.
Yeah.
One of the weirdest things in superhero movies is Howard the Duck. And part of that is just because of how strangely put together that movie is and how odd of a screenplay that is. But also because, so 1986, after Stan Lee's been spending a lot of time going around trying to get live action superhero movies made, including and maybe mostly Ant-Man for whatever reason. He was just obsessed with this idea of getting an Ant-Man movie made. That's also odd, but I can't really call it development. It never happened. The first blockbuster Marvel movie is Howard the Duck. That's bizarre. Not and like you got to put yourself back in the time and place. In comics, Howard the Duck was oddly popular, but he's not even a superhero. It's like the first big Marvel movie is not based on a superhero character, and I would argue that is a superhero movie, not just because Howard the Duck is in Marvel Comics, but like the way that movie is structured, it is a superhero movie. But that character in comics, not exactly a superhero, but also counterintuitive to make a thing about a like kind of cartoonish character that you're gonna have to put a person in in an animal costume to do. And it's also weird that it's the same year as Transformers the movie, which was also Marvel at the time. And then we don't get another one until Blade, who's a character, like another major motion picture. You got like 1990 Captain America and the unmade, the unreleased Fantastic Four movie, but like big
Punisher,
top
yeah.
tier blockbuster superhero movie based on a Marvel comic. Like Spider-Man was supposed to happen, was in development hell forever. X-Men the same way. People don't even know what Blade is. We don't get a major property anybody's heard of until 2000 with X-Men. That is
well,
wild.
not only that, this is obviously, you know, varying degrees. Like, this had it way more so, but it's almost got like a Green Lantern thing, right? Where like it gets super popular in the comics, and then we do a movie, and it like cuts off all the popularity, like by the head right there and then.
Yeah,
and
nobody cares anymore.
Yeah, it just kind of floundered. Obviously, to a lesser degree with Green Lantern, but Howard the Duck is like Aquaman after that movie. You know, in terms of being made fun of.
And then it's weird that, and I could, I guess, tack this on as a secondary one. I don't think this is on my list, but now that I'm thinking about it, Austin, and we talked about this a little bit in the history streams, DC has a better track record for this, but not with its mainstream superheroes outside of Batman and Superman. So when DC will adapt a non like mainstream superhero thing like a Watchmen. I guess Watchmen's a bad example because I didn't do great at the box office, but like a V for Vendetta or a Wanted or something.
The Losers.
Yeah, those things typically do pretty well and give more like general audience awareness of the comics, and the comics will sometimes, especially in the case of Watchmen, that's weird, right? Like Watchmen didn't do great at the box office, but that created new awareness for Watchmen, so it sold like crazy. Like arguably, Watchmen in trade probably sold better for its medium because of that movie than the movie did at the box office. So like DC has a great track record with that, as long as you're not a mainstream superhero.
Well, I think it was like all the trailer too. Like I heard that the trailer like really sparks off people buying that book, and then it obviously just didn't really translate to the box office.
And when I made my comic shop documentary back in 2014, a lot of the shop owners spoke to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard Didio talk about that.
They talked about how people came in and like ran them out of that book.
Mm-hmm.
Stone Casper,
I guess they didn't like it because they didn't go to see the movie.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if they were the only ones, it's not going to be big numbers. Because
no, of course,
for comic shops, big numbers. But I mean, if everybody that went to a comic shop and bought Watchmen went to the theater, but they were the only ones that did, I mean, that does $3 million opening weekend. Stone Gassman, $10 super chat. That movie did better than that, but you see what I'm saying. Weirdest story for me. Is it true? Chris Reeve refused to do Superman 3 because of the weak script and was replaced by Tony Danza. The director refused to shoot Danza and begged Reeve to return. I have never heard that.
I've never heard that either.
I'd have to look into that. That's interesting. If that's, I'll make a note of that, and I'll look into that. And I don't know when we'll ever talk about it, but I'll look into that.
Yeah, the main thing I know off of Superman 3 is there's the whole thing where I'm trying to remember who the writer was. It was like a Silver Age, like 50s Superman writer. They like bring him in to be, the kind of DC representative to make sure things are going well in that movie. But they bring him on like after most of everything with Richard Pryor is shot. So he comes in and it's like, oh, well, it's like too late to fix this.
Oh, wow.
I can advise for like this other stuff.
Okay, so I found a Collider article about this. I guess I'll bring it up now because I found it pretty quick. In a 2023 sit-down, so this is real recent, with Yahoo in celebration of Superman 3's 40th anniversary. Funny, I don't think that was screened in theaters for the anniversary, was it?
I don't know.
people just wouldn't have been flooding to the theater to see Superman 3. Because I don't think we got it for Star Trek
Probably
5
not.
either. And I really wanted it, because I've been trying to see as many of the TOS movies in the theater when they get re-released as I possibly can. And Motion Picture, Wrath of Khan, Voyage Home, and Search for Spock, actually. All 4 of those I've seen in the theater, and they've come back out. 5 and 6, I've never seen those come back. And I've never seen the Superman 3 or 4 come back. Shocking. Anyway, Ilya Salkind and producer Pierre Spangler debunked some long-standing rumors about the series' 3rd entry, including that Tony Danza might have replaced Reeve. This is BS, noted Spangler, who noted that Reeve's initial contract was for 7 different films. Yeah, that's a good point. He's like, he's contracted. For Superman 3, there was a negotiation of that original agreement, but it was a negotiation where both parties knew they had to agree to something. And he says, never did I cast Tony Danza. I wanted Chris Reeve, and he was willing to do it. I actually met him in New York with the script of Superman 3, and he liked it. Sometimes rumors are simply that, rumors. I bet there's a little more to that story. I doubt very seriously if Christopher Reeve didn't have some reservations about that script.
Yeah, because I mean, I've only heard him talk badly about 3, and that's part of why he takes more of the reins for 4.
Yeah, but also he might have been doing that more retroactively than as it got made, but that he would like sign off on it without any reservations. I mean, there's enough issues with that script. I have a hard time buying that, but
It's also weird. I didn't know he was signed on for 7 movies. This is just kind of funny that you have that, like they signed him on for 7, and one of the pitches before they went with Man of Steel was that 7-movie pitch by Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah. Which is a great pitch, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Chewbacca's Lover, $10 super chat. I'm sorry. Do you want to say something else, Les?
No. It's okay. Go
Did
go
you
for
know
it.
Zack Snyder made the advertising for Watchmen misleading on purpose? He wanted people to think it was a normal comic film and be blown away when they see it and how sophisticated it was. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know that. I mean, if it's true, that's rough because it's way less sophisticated than the book, but
also beyond that, there's 2 weird sides to this, right? Because on the one hand, I go, well, I think the reason that it was so provocative, and I mean, even though it didn't do the numbers I thought it was going to do at the box office, people were really impressed with that trailer and wanted to see it, was because it didn't look like a typical superhero movie. But then the other side of that is all the stories I heard about families taking their kids not realizing how rough it was. So if that's what he was after, it worked on some people, but it seems clear to me that wasn't what that trailer was after. So I don't understand that.
Yeah, I just don't remember the advertising well enough. Like, I vaguely remember parts of the teaser. Like, I remember they had like the Dr. Manhattan exploding and stuff like that, but that's kind of all I remember. And there was like a big song they play in it, but I don't remember what it is at this point.
It was Smashing Pumpkins, End is the Beginning is the End.
Oh, okay.
Which yeah, the advertising for that was huge for me. I remember the first time I saw that, and that was a big moment for me and my wife. It was dating at the time, because she typically doesn't like violent movies like that, and she was so impressed with that trailer she had to go and loved it. She to this day still loves that movie, and but is hilariously not interested in Snyder whatsoever besides that and 300. Because like I finally got her to watch BVS, and only in a commentary we were talking over it, and she's like, I don't understand how this movie got greenlit. So yeah, anyway, it's very funny. Austin, go ahead and throw us one.
Oh god, I feel like there's like 3 or 4 ways I can pivot off of exactly what we were just talking about. I guess I'll throw out another Superman one. This, I guess, is partly weird in how it affects things moving forward and things that will probably never happen. But I put on J.J. Abrams' Superman Flyby, which is partly how we get both Cavill and Brandon Routh as Superman, because they both audition for that, and both directors for their movies end up seeing their tapes, and then they audition again for their movie. As well as then, decades later, he gets brought in to do that Superman film that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. But I just think it's interesting that JJ is kind of like right in there with Superman in the post 2000s, I guess. I think that is maybe late 90s,
but never
early
ends up
2000s,
actually making one.
but never ends up happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, I was gonna say I don't know if he had actually gotten to make that it would have worked out any worse than Superman Returns, but it would have, even if it performed well, it would have in the sense that it would set this weird precedent of a Superman movie that doesn't have any Superman stuff in it.
Well, his Superman movie sounds really stupid.
Yeah, because like if memory serves,
yeah.
his was that movie where Krypton doesn't even explode.
No, I don't think Krypton does explode, and they have Kryptonian kung fu because of the Matrix.
Yeah.
And Superman's on Earth, and I think he dies at some point, and then Jor-El sacrifices himself to bring Superman back to life. It's all just really weird. But that was also supposed to be Brett Ratner, who then obviously goes on to make X3. And then he gets kicked off, and then they replace him with Mick G, because they were just like really going off for those generic 2000s directors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of the Unmade projects are interesting, but and I guess you can technically call them like weird developments, but more like weird in developments, as it were, and then things that never get made. But it's hard to tell the exact impact that they have. Besides just, well, they didn't get made, so this other thing did. But certain of them you can point to, here's a plot point that some producer remembered or was always going back to, and finally got it in this other movie. Like that happens
Absolutely.
sometimes.
No, absolutely. Well, and the only reason I included that was also because, like I said, that's how you get both of the next two Superman actors.
Yeah. So that's a way that
their
it
names get
concretely.
involved.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we didn't get in the weeds too much with unmade superhero.
Yeah,
movies.
no, I don't have a ton of like unmade movies. Like that makes on my list because of that specifically.
And I mean, I'm not telling you can't bring those up, but some of them, I just don't know what the impact would be. Like that's a hard and fast. Like here's the impact. Another one, obviously, another really obvious one would be Superman Lives, because then there's a bizarre homage to it in Flash, and like you never could have imagined you'd actually finally see that version in a movie, such as it was.
No, and over that specifically, I would put more so like Nicolas Cage's history with superhero films in general. Which I do have on my list, so I'll just throw that out there just because it's basically come up. But
well, and the weird relationship with with movies and Death of Superman, because because that was so popular in comics, as obsessed as Warner seemed to be with getting that on the big screen somehow, we don't get it until BVS. And like that's interesting.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I mean, like I said, it's also in Flyby, and it kind of seems like we might go to that place in Returns. It's like it is definitely something that weighs on their mind. I don't remember if it's in that old Batman vs Superman pitch, but there is stuff from the movie that they made that is in that original version too.
But yeah, it's so tacked on in BVS. It's like we've got to finally get it in there somewhere because we've been trying to do this forever. And I wonder if that was any kind of a studio mandate, or if that was just so many different people that have tried to make Superman movies really wanted to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So
I would love to know like the behind the scenes of some of that DCEU stuff.
So Gassman puts in a $5 super chat and says, thanks for the clarification on the Danza story. What is true is that Margot Kidder and Richard Pryor were in a relationship during 3 and stayed in a London hotel. I did not know that.
Well, that's where she was. That's one of my favorite things in those movies, is just her popping up and being like, I'm leaving, bye.
She has a cameo in 3 to write herself out so that we can do stuff with Lana Lang.
Yep.
So odd.
Bizarre.
Okay, I'm gonna go with, I don't know. Do I want to try to be anything like related to what we're talking about, or just go in a completely different direction?
I mean,
Well,
it's up to you. I was like, I can easily segue in different ways off of what we
yeah, I can't too.
talked about
Well,
before.
I did write BVS everything about it. That's on my list.
Just it's a baffling development.
Yeah, it's such. I mean, I wrote 5 hours on how completely baffling that whole thing was. Uh, but yeah, just everything about it. I think maybe the biggest thing with that, because I don't want to get in the weeds with BVS again. We've talked in and out with that, but I could not have imagined ever seeing Superman snap a man's neck on the big screen.
Hmm.
That was just surreal in the theater. Like that was weird. Like nothing is the same after that's allowed to happen. That was as weird to me the first time I saw it, Austin. And I mean, like, I
Hmm.
liked that movie a lot first time out, but I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And th- that's kind of as uh, like intentionally shocking as some of the stuff we've heard about Flyby. Like that sounds like something I
Yeah.
could have seen happen in that movie.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Or even like some of the weird John Peters things, and
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. But I guess I guess the other thing that's weird, as far as a development goes, no, I'll throw a couple more little things out with BVS because uh, I'm just going back. It's been 10 years now, and I'm going back into the time and place. Yeah, you realize that we're at the anniversary with that finally, or is that next year?
That's next year. No, I
Next year,
did think
we're
about it for a
close.
second. No, that's next
Yeah,
year.
we're close.
We are getting close. That is scary.
Isn't that nuts? But anyway, yeah, I don't know where a whole decade has gone, and it feels like it was yesterday. It also feels like a lot of time has passed, like all at the same time. So
Mhm. Well,
you're gonna.
especially in DC years, like
It's weird how long it took to finally make that happen because people wanted that forever, and it was kind of the obvious thing to do if you're Warner's and you want to make buckets of money. When I was growing up, there were constantly stupid playground fights about who would win in a fight between Batman and Superman. I never understood that, but like I remember having friends that were just obsessed with that debate, and Warner's had kicked around, trying to capitalize that on forever, trying to capitalize on that forever. And Austin brought up that there was even another pitch. So it's weird it took as long to get there. And then when we got there, it was straight up, let's make it sound like a wrestling match and make it sound like just the most superficial possible. Like, what was surreal about it, and where I'm going to call that a weird development, Austin, is the movie was the playground fight. I never could have
mhm.
imagined that. I mean, I thought if you finally made that, it was going to be a world's finest movie. When you had the fake poster in I Am Legend, it wasn't Batman versus Superman. It was one symbol on top of the other symbol. They're together. It's a team up movie. That's what you
Well, I mean,
always.
that's also how they announced BVS
That's
at
what you always
Comic
thought it would
Con.
be.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
and then BVS turns into and it's weird because it's like the opposite of the way Sergeant Generations was announced, which was Kirk versus Picard. That's
Now I wish we got
I
that. That
know.
sounds way better
I
than
know, me too. And it was
Generations.
supposed to be like they're on like their respective bridges of enterprises firing at each other,
Oh, I don't want that. I want them
and
just
then
on
that's
the
not what
bridge that
happens.
they're on at the end of that movie
just
fighting.
just throwing punches.
Yeah,
Okay,
just fist fighting.
for the record,
Uh,
and I'm sorry for getting back into Star Trek again, but for the record, there were when I was a kid, no playground fights about who would win in a fight between Kirk and Picard. It doesn't matter who you're more of a fan of. We all know who wins that fight.
we all know it's Kirk with his
Yeah,
this punch.
yeah. Well, he's
Double
either
fist
gonna do the
punch.
double fist punch or he's gonna do that silly like leap kick
Or he does the
where he
roll.
rolls when he lands. Yeah,
No, like the one where I think it's in the con episode where he rolls and trips somebody over.
that's
That
awesome.
Batman that Batman unironically does in The Batman, and like it blows my mind every time. It's beautiful.
And then the other
Uh,
thing that was a very weird development with BVS is let's also make it the Dark Knight Returns suit. And let's try to make it Dark Knight Returns and Death of Superman all at the same time.
mhm.
That's
Well, that was part of how it was announced, was them reading the "I beat you" speech from Dark Knight Returns, and then the logos that like appear like together.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good point
and
you're
also
making.
if
Is
there's
that
anything you
they did put the logos on top of each other for that movie also, but it was a versus movie. That's so weird.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And
If
if
the I
there's
Am
anything
Legend
you
point I made was kind of dumb because that movie also
no,
had
that's
them on
fine.
top of each other, but what I always had in my head based on that was World's Finest. Anyway,
Mhm.
sorry.
But if there's anything you don't want with Ben Affleck, it's a playground fight. So that was the mistake of making BVS.
Robert, Cap, I've seen those Next Generation movies. Picard is totally an action hero. Yeah, but I'm talking about when I was a kid before those movies came out. There were no playground fights about Kirk versus Picard. And even action movie Picard is not going to beat Kirk in a fight. No chance.
Mhm. No, there's no way.
I don't care how weirdly muscular he is in First Contact. There's no chance. Dan
His
Schneider
stupid John McClane outfit in the third one.
in the second one.
Is it in the second one? I thought it was in the third one that he has the John McClane outfit.
I thought you were talking about the thing he's wearing in the third act with the Board Queen. I guess I don't know what you mean in Insurrection.
Maybe. I thought when he fights the mummy guy at the end of Insurrection, he's got like the John McClane outfit.
Oh, I guess he kind of does, doesn't he? I thought you meant like the muscle shirt he's wearing at the end of First Contact.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, did Dan Schneider $10 super chat? Did you know? Thanks for the support tonight, guys. Did you know 2003 Daredevil was supposed to be hard R? Mark Steven Johnson was influenced by Crow and Blade. It's only PG-13 because of 2002 Spidey's success. Well, the director's cut is R, and I'm sure if he had his way, it would have even been more hard R than that. But yeah, it was always a rated R movie, and then it was eviscerated by a producer after they shot it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would be a hard R movie just based on what we have, but like maybe that was even being muddled down when they were filming it.
Yeah, I wonder. That easily could have been a Batman Forever situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan Schneider puts in another $5 super chat and says people who read that original script say it would have been the best superhero movie up to that point, and also Evanescence was against his will. Wow. Which
yeah,
is
maybe.
funny.
I mean,
because,
he's still not like the greatest director, but
right.
maybe it would have been even cooler.
Well, he
I
didn't
mean, we
write it.
also kind of missed the boat
Austin,
with that.
But Austin, he didn't write it.
No, but I'm thinking like even execution like might bring that down a little bit. I don't
That's
know.
true. That's true. Well, and when he says Evanescence was against his will, like I think for the material they made, as silly as that scene is, that song fits that movie, and that was
I think so too.
and that introduced me to that group, and I I don't know, unabashedly love Evanescence. I unabashedly love 2 Evanescence records. The rest of them are not very good, but my favorite Evanescence song is on a bad album, so there's that.
So it's like you fall asleep through all the bad songs, then you gotta wake me up.
No, because
when the
they're
good one
irritating.
comes?
There's no sleeping through Open Door. Like, it's just irritating.
Oh.
And then you get to Snow White Queen, and I'm like, this song is awesome. And then the rest of the record happens, and I'm like, this record sucks.
Thank God for Spotify.
Anyway, Austin, so I was going to just say BVS real fast, and then I talked about it for 10 minutes. Why don't you throw another one out?
Okay, I'm gonna throw out one of the ones I was confused by when I saw it initially, which is that Michael Keaton now has a quadrilogy of returning to the genre decades later superhero projects.
This is true.
Starting with Birdman, it's oh my god, Michael Keaton's back and he's basically playing Batman, but it's in like a not exactly a superhero thing, but like making fun of that kind of thing. And then I think it's like the next year he does the RoboCop remake, which was oh my god, now he's in like a proper superhero film. And then he does Homecoming, it's like oh, but now he's in like one of the big 2, and then he comes back as Batman.
Yeah, well, you said trilogy, but then there's another one. Or
Well, I
did you?
said
Oh, did you
quadrilogy.
say quadrilogy? I missed that.
Yep. No, it's all good.
No, that is true. And it's weird that he's kind of got that weird trilogy, and two of the three are good, and that ain't bad, I guess. And then I he finishes it up with Flash, which is I could say like BVS, just all by itself. is baffling and a very strange development. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, just everything around DC in that period is baffling. So,
you know what's weird about Birdman?
what's that?
Michael Keaton is obviously great casting for that, and maybe that script is even built around the choice for him. I'm not sure about that. But in playing a an actor who used to be really well known for this superhero property, but his history is kind of his own personal history. Like I'm sure it resonates with him to some degree because he's known so much for that part and he's got this whole body of work, but he's not typecast or drummed out of Hollywood or not able to get work after Batman. And I'm just tacking this on. I always thought that was really interesting because that happens to a lot of actors and it never happened to Michael Keaton. Like, you see, both Adam West and William Shatner. Now, Shatner doesn't have this problem as much, but I'm sure there are roles Shatner would have liked to have gotten that he couldn't have gotten because of Kirk. But like, I think both of them will occasionally end up in, especially Adam West, will end up in things where they're playing characters that mirror that history. And then Michael Keaton does it. He doesn't have that history at all. He leaves Hollywood for a long time because he doesn't want to do it anymore. And then he comes back and he's kind of got his pick of roles. So yeah, that's interesting.
That's true. I didn't think about this when we did Foxy Brown, but that's another reason you should watch Jackie Brown. Is Michael Keaton's awesome in it.
Oh, I didn't know he was in that.
Yeah, he plays a cop in it.
Let me read this super chat from Pros and Cons guy. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
$5 super chat. What do you think was the best superhero movie before the superhero boom?
Howard the Duck.
What's tough about that question is you have to tell us where your cutoff is, because I think that's somewhat subjective, right? Like, are we talking, because the easy year to point to is '08, but
But then are you looking at like X-Men, Spider-Man? Like
during the
big
2000s, people were calling that a boom then. So are we ignoring that now because we've got more historical perspective and there's more of this? Because if we're saying what is the best superhero movie before '08, because that's
because my mind went to pre-Blade
one, to pre-Blade even, yeah.
Then...
That
was my like gut reaction. Like Big Boom was pre-Blade. But he could have meant 2008.
And then the answers just get obvious for me because we just did a top 100. But it's 89 or it's Superman.
Yeah, I guess probably Superman for me.
Now, when we did that list, I would have said Superman 2, but we just did a revisit for Superman, and I want to change that order again. Spogus Lover, $5 super chat. Thanks, guys. I would have predicted Spider-Man and Batman getting made right after Superman the movie. Yeah, right? Well, and those weren't... Nobody was trying.
Not for lack of trying.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is Spider-Man was more in development hell like a few years after that. But anyway,
I also think Spider-Man just probably wouldn't have worked then. Like maybe it could have, but I feel like the swing thing is a lot harder to make look good than Superman flying.
No, it is. Because I also wonder why there wasn't a bandwagon after Batman '89. I don't know what that means.
Just like more of that, like everyone's wagoning off of that, which you get, but like we said earlier, is more of the pulp side than it is comic books. But like I said, I think that's just a sign of producers at the time where they didn't fully understand why people were into that.
Yeah, well, and it's important to note that I don't know why all of a sudden I can't think of his name, but the guy that came in and got spent 10 years trying to get Batman made by Warner is even after Superman, for whatever reason, they didn't think it would sell. They weren't interested in making it. Well, I say for whatever reason, they were gun shy because of 66. With Batman specifically, it was, well, okay, people didn't have this campy version of Superman in their heads. Michael Uslan, that's the guy. So I mean, he spent years trying to convince them to make that. Bless you there, Austin.
Thank you.
Josh says Flash TV show. When I was gonna say like there were also attempts on TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he mentions too Punisher, Captain America, and The Crow as well as being like very post 89.
Yeah, and again, there are lots of examples, but a lot of them are. But like Hollywood was so gun shy, they didn't throw a lot of money at anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting that we've been spending so much time on that era tonight. Austin, is it your
Yeah,
turn?
no kidding. I actually don't remember. It might be yours. I also threw two kind of back to back because they came up. So even if it was, you can throw out another one.
Okay, I'll throw one out. Let's jump ahead a little bit, shall we? We've been
Yeah,
sticking
that was my plan.
kind of in the 90s, early 2000s, and we can still jump around a bunch. But I want to just completely switch gears. This one is a twofer, Austin, and it's just really amusing to me. Constant building to Sinister Six without ever getting there. To this day, never got there. You've got Amazing and Amazing 2, the next movie, supposed to be Sinister, or supposed to be, Sinister Six. And then you've got a shared universe. This by itself is one of the most bizarre developments ever in anything in the history of the world, not just superhero movies. The Venom shared universe without Spider-Man, with other villains turned anti-heroes, but then one of them with Madam Web isn't even in that universe, I guess. I don't know. But they made... Austin and I have talked about this before.
They made 6 of them?
They had 6 of those, and they never combined them and made a Sinister Six. And then No Way Home has all these villains from different Spider-Man villains or movies in different universes, and they're not ever called a Sinister Six. We never did it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it'll ever happen. And wait a minute. Wait, sorry. And I just thought of this. And there was almost a standalone Sinister Six movie a la Suicide Squad. I forgot about that.
Not only that, Kev, but it gets even funnier because it was Drew Goddard was the one that was supposed to make that, and then it falls through, and then his next movie after that was going to be X-Force.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
After Deadpool 2. But I've never made this connection before until you mention this now. I'm going to throw out one word, which is the reason why it's never happened.
Sinister?
Sinister.
So that's
exactly.
Why hold on, because that was the rest of this. So that's why I said it was a twofer.
Oh, okay, perfect. I was worried you were going to get there, but then you went into the Venom stuff. So I was like, hopefully
well, because I kept thinking of more examples of just that, and then there's constant building to Mr. Sinister without getting there, and that one is equally weird because it's in all these different, both X-Men and Deadpool movies, and with X-Men, it's after credit scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Deadpool 2 gives us the Essex house, and we still never get to Mr. Sinister.
That one's a double. It was setting up both X-Force by the guy who was supposed to make the Sinister Six film and Mr. Sinister, neither of which happened.
It's so freaking weird.
Deadpool 2 really is the culmination of everything Sinister, really. That's what we're getting at.
And imagine how much weirder it is if you're watching these movies more casually, or you've never picked up a comic book and you like the superhero genre, but you just see movies, and you don't know what any of this stuff is that's being set up.
Yeah.
And you might not make any connection and really think about it, but it's got, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of people not in the know. it's gotta be weird where you've got all these after credit scenes and you have no idea what they're setting up, and then you never learn about it because they never get there.
They should have just made Mr. Sinister the villain of Deadpool and Wolverine as like part of the joke. He's stuck in the void. He never got made.
That would have been great. I love their Cassandra Nova, but it drives me nuts that we may never see her with an Xavier. Like, it's really strange that you've got her in a movie that does not have Xavier in it.
Mm-hmm. That is very strange.
You could have tacked on Mr. Sinister, though. It would have been really funny if he was also in the Void.
He's just on that hero team as well?
Well, but they've got villains down there, too.
No, I know, but I was just thinking like it would be even funnier if he was just there, like.
Oh, if he's part of the underground resistance, he's just hanging out with Elektra.
Yeah. Yeah, you have Elektra, Blade, Gambit, X-23, and Mr. Sinister.
Oh my god.
Exactly.
I love that Elektra's there. That's still funny to me. Okay. Moving right along. Go ahead.
Okay, which one am I going to do here?
I can't wait to find out.
Do I want to jump forward in time, or should I go more so around where you were? Let's see. Okay, this is like, one I think we've talked about a little bit, but with what happened today, I think it's fair. The fact that the Fantastic Four reboots every 10 years on the dot, like it's Pennywise the Clown, and like has specific times that it has to come back at.
And then it's always a year with a 5-minute and not a 4.
Because we always miss it.
But the unreleased Fantastic Four movie was made in 1994. And if that had come out, it may have come out in 95, and that would have started this trend of every 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
How freaking weird is that? We've talked about this somewhere recently, but I'm glad you brought that up to put in this video. That's so strange.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really weird, because I feel like every
now and then...
We're still
doing it.
No, because I feel like every now and then people go, "Oh, isn't it weird that Fantastic Four was supposed to come out last year, but now it has to come out this year, so it's off by a year?" And it's like, yeah, but when you think about it, it's even weirder because we had Fantastic in 2015, so it's 10th anniversary of that, and the 20th anniversary of Tim Story movie this year.
It's a completely unintentional tradition that the people making these movies have no idea about. Probably.
The next one has to come out in 2017. Or 2027, sorry. To be fair.
You know what else is amazing about it? And I mean, I get that Tim Story's movie got a sequel, but you're saying, like, they keep rebooting. The other thing that's interesting about that...
specifically only reboots happen on the 10-year anniversary.
It's every 10 years, and counting the... Unmade movie, we've had 4 of these now. Isn't that strange? And they've all been made by entirely different sets of people. Like, I guess the first 2 were with those. Well, no, because the first one wasn't Fox. The second one,
the first one's Fox.
Well, no, I mean the unreleased one.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm thinking first one is released. Sorry, you're right. No,
I
first
said
one's
counting
not Fox,
the unreleased one,
but 2 and 3. Yeah, no, I threw myself off. Sorry.
But almost all different studios. 3 or 4 different studios.
But at the same time, like 2 and 3 are still Fox, but they're also Fox from like completely different eras. At that point.
Yeah, that's why I said that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly.
And you can tell. But they're both...
Oh, yeah.
But they're both really held back by... and really dated by the sensibilities of the time. Just this real trepidatious, like... I mean, I don't want to get back into the whole Josh Trank thing. Like, if he'd put out what he wanted to put out, it wouldn't have... we may not have liked it, but it wouldn't have felt like this as much. But, like... just so gun-shy and trying to make these things whatever was popular right then. If you don't know anything about how Trank was trying to make that movie, both the Story movie and fantastic what we ended up getting kind of feel like that. Where it was trying to grab onto whatever was big right then.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Zodlord says, "Who cares? Most of the Fantastic movies suck." That is correct. The
All
unreleased one is still the only good
all
one,
all of the Fantastic Four movies suck.
except for the Corman one. That one's solid. No, I think the Corman movie genuinely has heart to it. It's just
No, it does.
unfinished.
It's just unfinished. Yeah, that's right.
Mm. That's the only thing that's really holding that back. Not that it would be like an amazing movie or anything, but like it's solid.
I don't know if I remembered to put that Fantastic Four thing on my list, but that's one of my favorite examples of this. I'm so glad you brought that up. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre.
Okay, I'll segue from that and go to
Yeah,
more Fox superhero stuff.
yeah,
Deadpool becoming bigger than X-Men.
yeah.
You just never could have predicted that. Even when Deadpool became such a gigantic meme and had a big fan base, you never thought Fox would greenlight it. I mean, Ryan Reynolds had to make a pitch video and prove to them that it could be done and that anybody cared. And then it becomes this massive, for lack of a better word, juggernaut, right?
Mhm.
You never could
Yeah.
have expected it to actually get greenlit, and if it did, it easily could have gone the same direction, the same way Green Lantern did, and that's also Ryan Reynolds. But
Hmm.
Green Lantern, huge in the comics right before that came out, seemed primed like the perfect time to put out a Green Lantern movie, and maybe it was if the movie was any good, but it's hard to know how well that would have performed if it was a great movie. Like it's just like right then I don't know how much like general audiences would have cared. And you remember how crazy hard they pushed the merchandise with that? Like they thought that was going to be huge, and
Hmm.
just because the comic fan base cares, it could be like Star Trek, where but general audiences are just not going to be into that. It's going to be niche. It's gonna stay kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Well, anyway, but just kind of small and niche.
Hmm. I'm also going to piggyback off of
Cult. I mean, Star
yours.
Trek's not exactly cult, but I mean, relatively. But anyway, so yeah, like Deadpool could have and honestly probably should have been like Green Lantern. Just historically, it's crazy that went as mainstream as it did.
Mhm. I'm going to add on to yours as well because it's on my list and it like fits in exactly with yours. I also put on that Deadpool spawns out of Blade Trinity is also really weird. Just to
Yeah,
add on to that,
and just
I think that is very strange too.
Reynolds' history with that character, getting cast
Yeah, really, just the whole history of that, getting made is very weird.
getting cast in Blade Trinity, not knowing anything about Deadpool, uh, or did he by the time he got that role? I can't remember how that
I think it's
goes.
he learns about it on set. I think isn't it like Patton Oswalt? Dude, you're just playing Deadpool.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah, and
That's what
then
I thought.
gets to play him in Origins, and I mean that's the other part of the Deadpool thing that's so weird is Deadpool went from the most notorious we screwed him and threw him under the bus example with fans of shafted characters in superhero movies all the way to one of the most popular and well liked franchises of all time in the genre. Like that is a comeback story like nothing we've ever seen.
Now Marvel needs to make a Taskmaster movie because their Taskmaster is just Deadpool in Origins.
Yeah, but I
Make that happen again.
but I don't think there's any chance of the same kind of lightning striking twice with that. I don't think
No.
Taskmaster is ever going to be on the level of Deadpool, because I mean Deadpool in its way is kind of primed for popularity in our self aware like random humor kind of world that we live in now, constantly the the character that's like constantly making chimichanga jokes, like I get why that got popular, but the idea that it would ever translate to movies and its
Well, the
own
Deadpool game
kind of
bombed.
shocking. Yeah, it wouldn't now.
Nope.
Well, I say that. I mean, Guardians was really popular, and that game bombed, and that game was like 3 times better than the Deadpool game.
That was hurt by Avengers, though. To
Yeah,
be fair, like that was right after in the same, not developer, the same publisher. So people were like, "Oh, that's going to be just Avengers again."
it's too bad it didn't come out first.
Hmm. I think it would have done a lot better if it came out first.
That
Oh
that
well, at least it's a good game.
that Guardians game, there are obviously lots of examples of why it's better than that Deadpool game, but you can start and stop with the camera works. Just start and stop with that.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
Dan Schneider, $10 super chat. To be fair, Deadpool was already sort of popular with non-comic fans through internet YouTube culture. Yeah, and that's why I said like he was a big meme thing, or they at least knew who he was. I swear, non-comic fans were excited Deadpool was getting a film, and that's true. That is the difference between that and Green Lantern, I suppose. But it's maybe a
Yeah.
little similar in that just because people know who he is from memes doesn't necessarily mean that they'll go to the theater. I mean, the example I'll throw out is actually, I think this is a really apt example. Powerpuff Girls merchandise sold through the roof. That movie made like $2 million opening weekend.
Hmm.
That should have done well, and Cartoon Network advertised it okay. Just nobody ended up caring. Deadpool could have been like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. It definitely could have been.
Retroactively, I see why it wasn't, but when you're there in the moment, you don't know how that's going to go. Anyway, give us another one, Austin.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Which one am I gonna go off of?
Let's do maybe one more each, and then we
Okay.
can come back and do a follow up on this because I got tons of stuff left on my list.
I'm getting to like the bare bones, but there's more and more dumb things. But
Feel free to throw out. We can make the second part just dumb things. That's fine.
no, that's fine. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Okay, I'm gonna go with I guess another more recent thing that I think is interesting, but it's that you have Walter Hamada kind of takes over DC, right? And he goes, okay, we're gonna cut Superman and Batman out, and we're gonna focus on all these B characters, and they immediately go, oh wait a minute, this is a mistake, bail out, and then as they do that, Marvel goes, I'm jumping straight into that, and they ride that sail, and it has not been going well for them.
No, it has not.
But I just thought it was kind of interesting that you have that kind of shift happening around the same time, where there's a chance where you have both doing it at the same time.
Well, you could maybe argue that parallels comic history.
Yeah, that's true
Sometimes
too.
one company will see a trend that's happening at the other one, and then they want to be that company, and it often does not work out.
Hmm.
But no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's very strange all by itself that you've got this period with DCEU where we're not only making nothing but movies that don't have Batman and Superman in them, when at one time that's all they would make,
Hmm.
but also a lot of them didn't feel like definitive off the page versions, and so it's like
Hmm.
we're still stuck in the 90s and early 2000s.
No, that's true too.
We're making movies that are kind of these characters, but we're gun shy in presenting them uh, in their traditional ways.
Hmm. Well, I mean, you look at Flash, and if I were to come to you and say, "Hey, the Flash is a team up of three main heroes," you have the Flash, and then you have a younger hero and an older. Your mind probably goes to, oh, you have Jay Garrick, Barry Allen, and Wally West, and that is not what they made.
Well, you know what you expect is that there's going to be more Flash in your Flash movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then hilariously, the Flash ends up having the same thing, the same problem that a couple years later. We're jumping around now, but this is not on my list. But I'm gonna add this in now. Now that you said that, Austin.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm gonna say? Do you know what I'm gonna say? The Flash ends up having the exact same problem that Captain America: Brave New World has, where that's not a Captain America movie. That's an Incredible Hulk sequel. And The Flash is not a Flash movie. That's weirdly a Man of Steel sequel and an 89 sequel. Kind of. It's got a character named Batman played by Michael Keaton in it, okay? With that Batmobile. That's what it has.
Not that you see his Batmobile, really. At least it doesn't move.
You see the Flash sleeping in it.
Yeah, you get more action of that Batmobile and Looney Tunes back in action than you do Michael Keaton coming back as Batman.
Yeah. So no, that whole thing is bizarre. I don't even remember where this started. I forget what your initial point was because I just got stuck on the Flash.
Well, now I just thought of this too, because since I brought that movie up. Looney Tunes Back in Action also suggests that Roger Corman is directing the fifth 90s Batman movie, which
That's
is
amazing.
awesome.
I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
Oh no, I remember what your thing was. It was
it was sidelining all the big major characters.
And then Marvel doing the same thing. Yeah, so interestingly, Marvel does it in, of course, a completely different way, where they feel like they've exhausted the popular characters, and particularly those actors that are probably burnt out and kind of done, and they're riding on such a high with the popularity of their first decade and with these gigantic record-breaking money-making Avengers movies at the end that they think they can do no wrong, and that surely the supporting stable they have left can replace the A-listers that they've gotten rid of. And they're probably thinking, to be fair, we've kept enough of our A-listers, because I'm talking at the time in 2019 when Endgame...
No, I agree.
Well, I'm just, for everybody listening, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm saying, I mean, not right now. I'm saying in 19, you've still got Black Panther, you've still got Spider-Man, you've still got Thor, you've still got Hulk. Like, it's easy to go, we sidelined all the big names. We didn't really, but over time we have now. Mm-hmm. And some of it's not their fault. Like one of their biggest players that has one of their biggest money-making movies died. There's nothing they can do about that. They can recast him, which they should have done, but they can't really do anything about the guy who played him that was a lot of why it was so popular.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Feige originally with Endgame wanted to kill all 6 original Avengers, and the Russos were like, that's not a good idea, and talked him out of it. But interestingly, too, I just thought of this.
It might have been good for that movie. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or at least maybe find different ways to write them out, because I know one of the things, too, was they were like, it's too much if they all die, which is why obviously you have Cap gets ridden out, Iron Man dies, Black Widow dies. So like you could have done something like that too, where like you just write out or kill off more characters.
If they had, the reason I say retroactively, maybe it would have been a good idea, because I mean I would have really questioned that then, unless you were actually ending or taking time off, like I said they should have done. If you kill off all 6 Avengers, don't make another MCU movie for like 3 years. But if, or a couple years, whatever. If they, again, I'm saying this in hindsight, but if they had gotten rid of all 6 original Avengers, we would not have had the depressing slow burn of watching the ones that are left, just kind of like fade into either boring or crappy movies, right? Like,
Mhm.
okay, so what do we do with? I mean, we did kill Black Widow, but it's like, what do we do with Black Widow? We gave her a crappy prequel. Okay, what do we do with Hulk? Nothing, and then She-Hulk. That's unfortunate. What did we do with Thor? I don't like talking about that. Like,
Hawkeye wrote it out the
yeah,
best.
that's true. His show is one of the only good Disney Plus shows. So there you go.
Yeah, they get flounders a little bit at the end, but it's overall fine.
You know what? That last
Um,
episode could have been the worst thing the entire Disney Plus era or stable has made, and it is still the second best show on that platform.
that is true. That is true. No, I guess it's the Nick Fury effect, right? Where it's like, oh, here was the great opportunity to kill them off, and we didn't. And then what did we do with them after that? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And you said that with Endgame. Like, I feel like if Nick Fury had died in Winter Soldier, we'd all be like, "Oh, really? Like, we're just gonna throw that character out?" But like in
Nah, I wish we
retrospect,
had.
yeah, I kind of wish we had. But it's interesting too. I feel like both with Hamada's DC and what we're seeing with Marvel, I feel like they have the same end goal. Because I feel like with Secret Wars, we will probably bring back. I mean, we know with Downey we're getting him back, but I think we'll get kind of all of them back. And that was the plan with him with DC was write all of the like main Justice League members out for like in the Flash, and then bring them all back when we eventually do like the big kind of end game event.
Well, again, I'm saying this in hindsight, but I I don't think Flash would have gotten even if it was bad as it is. I don't think that it would have gotten the backlash or people making fun of it as hard as we all have, or a lot of us have, for being called the Flash, for like being a Flash movie that's like, Keaton and Supergirl and Zod and all of that. If it was intended as a soft reboot event movie, like a lot of us expected that it would be, and you just called it Flashpoint in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It would be weird that you didn't get a standalone Flash movie before you did that, but there's precedent for that with DCEU. You introduced Batman in a Superman sequel and put Batman's name in it. Like, in that universe, Austin, making a movie called Flashpoint, where Flash is the central character, but it's also about the like DC multiverse, that's not weird. Not in this world.
Every choice in this world is weird.
Yeah, it's already
Why
weird.
stop there?
So that's what they
Yeah, I
should
mean,
have
I guess
done.
that just goes into like that weird thing. We've talked about this with like Infinity War and stuff, where some of the stuff could probably just get away with being called the event name. Like that's not an Avengers movie.
I think so too. Yeah. I don't think these Avengers movies need to have Avengers in the title unless they will truly feel like Avengers movies. I don't think they will. I'm talking about the new ones. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know
but
what you do with
we need the
Doomsday.
name, Cap.
Like, I guess Doomsday, you have to have Avengers in it, or it sounds like a Superman movie. But Secret Wars, you don't need it at all. Marvel presents, like, does not have to say Avengers in it. Secret Wars.
It should be Marvel Presents, and they should have Kevin Feige walk out to his own silhouette.
Well, I don't know why they can't do it like the action figures, the obscure characters that they're afraid nobody knows who they are, so they write Marvel's whoever. Like, I don't know why they don't do event movies like that. Just Marvel's Secret Wars, Marvel's whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I guess they can do that on TV now.
Marvel's the Marvels.
There's precedent with Secret Invasion, I guess. That wasn't Nick Fury's Secret Invasion.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they can do it on TV. It's like, well, TV, it's Disney Plus. People will watch it, but we have to get them to actually get in their car and go to the theater. So we got to make sure that it's a thing they've heard of. Robert Wild, $5 super chat. We got thanks, man. We got 2 Shazam movies, a Black Adam movie, and they never cross over. That was not on my list, but it should have been. I'm glad you said that. Because, yes,
I had a different Black Adam thing, but sorry, there's also a couple super chats too from earlier.
Oh, sorry, I'll hit those. Thank you.
It's okay.
But no, when that happened, that was in my top 10 of just bizarre, baffling developments in superhero movies, where Black Adam does not have uh, Captain Marvel, it does not have Shazam in it.
Mhm.
Oh,
No,
am
I'll
I?
tack on to that.
Sorry, I'm jumping
Hmm?
around. Am I remembering this right? Did we not get? Maybe I'm wrong about this. Tell me if because I'm rusty. I might have to look at the dates. Did we not get Shazam and Captain Marvel in the same year?
They were the same year.
See, that's weird.
That is weird.
That also should have been on my list. That's pretty weird.
Um, were there sequels the same year?
I think they were. That would also be weird if that happened.
Are they both 2023?
I think so.
I think they might be.
Wow, that's weird. Anyway, what were you
That
going to
is
say?
weird. Especially because you have the Marvels, and then Shazam 2 already has the fully established Captain Marvel family. No, I forgot to add the Black Adam thing, but I did have on my list that The Rock was in like a development hell Doc Savage movie like for years, and I think it was finally canceled because of Black Adam.
It's sad because when that was first announced and discussed, I was duped a little by it. I thought there was a chance that'd be good.
Well, it was supposed to be Shane Black at one point, like after Iron Man 3.
Oh, weird. But I mean, like the concept art and that first fandom, like when it was the project it ended up being, like I thought that was gonna be okay, and then it wasn't
Mm-hmm. Oh, for Black Adam.
for Black
Yeah.
Adam.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about his Doc Savage movie that I just
Oh
mentioned.
no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
We're
No,
jumping all
you're
over the
okay.
place.
No, Shane Black did not almost make Black Adam.
I had not heard that. Yeah. Anyway, but the rest of Robert's super chat, he says also Mark. I don't know why he's bringing this up, but he says also Mark Strong has played 3 DC villains: Sinestro, Doctor Sivana, and Falcone. I don't know why.
Third time was the
I
charm.
don't know why that's weird. If you're saying that's a weird development, but that is true. There are lots of actors that have played multiple.
Yeah,
characters.
I guess it's harder to say stuff like that is weird now because we see so much of it.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're in a place now where it's been, and I don't know if this will continue, but it has for a long time been sort of a rite of passage for actors playing superheroes and villains and being in superhero movies. Like most every big actor you can think of has either done one or has come out and told us why they don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, I had one on my list that was like about an actor thing, but it was Gyllenhaal playing Mysterio because he was almost the replacement for Maguire in Spider-Man 2.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I think that's weird because of that, not so much as, I mean, not that he played. I mean, I guess he was also Nightcrawler, but
Let me get these other super chats. Chewbacca's Lover $2 super chat. Cassandra Nova is from Grant Morrison's X-Men run. That's true. Thank you
Yep.
for that information.
And I will forever be mad at that movie that they did not cut to them fighting in the womb, like in the comic.
Hey, look, they could still bring her back. They could still do it.
I guess, but they won't.
No, they won't. But yeah, I've never finished that run, so I got to her and read a little bit of her, but I never finished that run. I should do that. Bob the Hunt $5 super chat. My weird development. How the F have we never done Brainiac in any of the Superman films? Yeah, that's a good one. We haven't gotten any comic villains besides Lex and Zod. And that's sort of gonna be remedied with Gunn's Superman movie. But what I'm wondering is if Ultraman will still count as a Superman clone. Because if he does, then we still have not had a villain in Superman movies that is not Lex, Zod, or a Superman clone. Because
we have
Nuclear
Dragon,
Man is
famous Superman villain.
There's a part of me that kind of hopes the trend continues for one more movie.
I mean that would be really funny. I also feel like we will probably have like glimpses at like smaller, obscure Superman villains in that movie, but we'll see.
Yeah, probably so. I imagine it'll be like Homecoming, where you'll have a villain or two that's not like fully costumed yet, that's like in the background somewhere. Kind of like um, what's his like Shocker or something.
Like Shocker. When it seems like the engineer from the Authority is kind of that,
Oh,
but
okay,
like you could also see more. Um,
but that's not really a Superman villain.
no, no, exactly. But like I mean, even like I feel like you could have just I don't know, maybe like Superman takes Lex to prison or something, and you get like villains like put in the cells. He does that a lot with his stuff because he's done a lot of like Suicide Squad adjacent things. But
Yeah, like if I was gonna say, if you look at the Suicide Squad, like chances are there'll be some like obscure or otherwise characters just sprinkled in. But I'm imagining something like you've got a like Winslow shot somewhere that's not being full on Toyman yet, but he's doing something. You know, that kind of thing.
yeah, for
Um,
sure. I hope Mixoplex shows up, but he probably won't.
but yeah, the main reason, not to give too much away about my movie, but the main reason that I want this trend to continue one more movie is I have a reference to it in my movie, and my movie's gonna
It's
come
already
out
wrong because we
just
have
after
famous villain
this.
dragon.
So yeah, my movie's gonna get outdated very quickly. But I'm not gonna be able to get it out before that movie. Dan
You have
Schneider.
to do like an insert shot where you go like, every Superman villain has Lex Luthor, General Zod, Dragon.
Dan Schneider, $10 super chat. To be fair, and that's exactly how I would do it too. Deadpool was already
Exactly.
sort of popular with non-comic fans. Oh wait, did I read this already?
Yes, that one we did do.
Sorry
I
about that.
think you skipped those two and then went straight to that one.
No, I read Roberts, but I'd already read that one. I guess is what happened.
Mhm.
So anyway, whatever. I'm just making sure I didn't miss any. If I miss one, guys, just let me know and feel free to repost it. Dan, not as a super chat, but just repost it. Dan Schneider, $5 super chat. Brainiac was supposed to be in one of the original Superman movies. That's true, and he was supposed to be in the sequel, Superman Returns. And I
And
think
he's supposed to be in
he was
Flyby and Lives,
and Superman Lives. Yeah.
and I think maybe the sequel to Man of Steel, but I don't know if we fully know that.
Well, I
But
almost said because he wasn't even written out of what would have been the shooting script, right? Like I think he was supposed to be straight up in that movie because he's
for what?
for Lives.
Well, he was cast. He was going to be walking, and
Oh, that's right.
they made the spider prop where it's a
Yeah,
spider with Brainiac's head on it, and it is the most awesome thing I've ever seen.
yeah. No, it's crazy.
And when the like generic spider rocks up in the Flash movie, I was like, oh, they should have just went all the way with it and just dumped that Brainiac spider in with no explanation.
Yeah, I think
But
it's a toss up to say which of those is the weirder development or lack thereof, Brainiac or Mr. Sinister. Because with Brainiac, it's like that's a major Superman villain that we cannot stop. Because this is another thing that's funny, that we cannot stop introducing at the end of direct-to-video animated Superman movies. That's a thing that happens a lot. Oh man, Brainiac's coming! Like we do that over and over again, and people know him as a huge Brainiac villain. He's just the obvious. Like let's finally do a big, scary space villain, and the Brainiac from animated series would be wonderful for a movie. But then Sinister is almost weirder because we keep referencing him and we never see him. That did not happen with Brainiac.
no, Brainiac is the death knell of a Superman script. I'm pretty sure that is why Brainiac is not the villain of Gunn Superman, was because he wanted the DCU to actually come out.
Nobody talks about the Brainiac curse, but there is a Brainiac curse, I guess.
There is a Brainiac curse. I also think there was supposed to be a Superman 5 that Donner was talking about that had a Brainiac in it.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
I
No, he is just a cursed character. Get him out of here.
Okay, I want to do one more. Oh, I actually wrote the choice to have Superman snap a man's neck in a Superman movie. I didn't realize I had that on my list separately from BVS. I'm looking at a couple of big ones, and I don't know if I want to bring them up yet because we're gonna do a part 2. Maybe I should save that. Sorry, give me a second. Okay, I'll do this one. Marvel only making solo female lead superhero movies as prequels and not beating DCEU to solo female superhero movies. It's very strange.
When I had
Black
on my
Widow
list
is a
how long it
prequel.
takes to get Wonder Woman.
Black Widow is a prequel. Captain Marvel is a prequel, and yes, we got the Marvels, but I'm saying like a movie starring one female superhero.
Like it can't be a team thing.
That's all they did. But then weirder than that is as long as it took Wonder Woman to finally come to the big screen, as popular as MCU was, they could not beat them to that. And I know everybody's going to say Ike Perlmutter, and I get that. But it's still weird.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's, like I said, it's also on my list just how weird it is that it took that long to get a Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And how
I guess
long
I hadn't
it took
thought about that, but you're right.
and how long it took to get anything like a decent female-led solo superhero movie. And if you're Austin, it still never happened. Because I like the Wonder Woman movie, okay, and Austin doesn't. And so like
I liked Black Widow okay, but I also don't like Black Widow, so I expected to hate it. And I was like, it's whatever.
I mean, it's
But
not the worst
it's
thing
not
ever, but it's so stock and
not
nothing.
great.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, exactly. So it's like it's at the top of my list because of that, I guess.
That's the bar.
By default, this is the bar to meet. I do have a lot of faith in Supergirl,
So
though.
do I.
We'll see.
So do I. So I'm excited about that.
Speaking of which, it is also funny that James Gunn's original slate, it's shifted now, but his original slate, every movie is just the original DC characters to get movies. That being Superman, Supergirl, Swamp Thing, Batman.
Oh, that's weird. That's true.
Is there another? Oh, and then The Authority, but that doesn't, like that, you can take that one off. But the rest of them were.
Yeah, Supergirl getting her own movie back in the day was kind of odd.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I guess it makes sense because they're going, well, this is popular and going well, like what can we spin off? But it's odd because she doesn't show up in one of those movies and Christopher Reeve is not in hers. So the only connective tissue they have is Jimmy Olsen.
Which is the same with the CW show.
What do you mean?
That you don't have like any Superman characters, but Jimmy Olsen is like the main connecting thing where it's like he's there and he's like, oh, I'm friends with Superman. I'm gonna hang out with you, Supergirl.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, initially.
Maybe they'll add Jimmy Olsen
Supergirl
tomorrow
because they make a big deal out of you're never going to see him on screen, and then when you finally do, it makes it very weird retroactively that you've got that moment where he shows up, but you're not allowed to see his face. Like it's so strange.
What's even weirder now because I think his show has like completely eclipsed hers
by a lot. Yeah,
by a lot. Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and wrap up. Like I said, I've got plenty more, so we can do a part 2 on this at some point here in the next couple weeks, probably. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks a lot for watching, if you're watching live or watching after the fact. Austin, I'm excited to later hear your dumb ones. What you referred to as your dumb ones.
Yeah.
I want to know what that means.
Oh, well, they're all the dumb ones.
Oh. Cool, that clarifies. That clears it up.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thanks for everybody that left super chats tonight. Really appreciate that, and just interacting with us, hanging out with us. It was a good time. And request from earlier folks that were here for that. Thanks for hanging out with us there too. Tomorrow night, Austin's going to be out of town, and I'm gonna come back on with Jason for and this is odd to do with my son because this is a somewhat rough movie, but Jason's almost 15, Isn't that nuts? Jason's almost 15. Jason's 15 next week.
That's crazy.
Jason and I tomorrow night are doing a commentary on David Fincher's Seven, which he watched with me the other day for special request. Somebody asked Jason and I to watch that movie, and Jason really, really liked it, and we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about that. To the point where we decided to make it a commentary instead of just a discussion. So join us for that. Come watch Seven with us, and Austin and I will be back with you again for more stuff next week. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate you, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody. See you soon.
See ya.